We're Rob and Katrina Chase, and we live in East Suffolk. Our trials and tribulations started on 10th of March. We got back from work to find the house was completely inundated with black, acrid smoke, and we had nowhere to turn initially.
I think when we knew we had to get hold of the insurers somehow, I thought that their emergency line was what we needed. It seemed like an emergency to us, but they said that wasn't it at all, and we hadn't got an emergency because we hadn't got floods or anything like that that needed immediate help, and it was a much more long-term thing, and would I wait until the morning? And we were staying with friends that night who said, oh, you need a loss assessor. So we got hold of Morgan Clark, who responded much more quickly and understood that we needed help then and made an appointment. So in fact, we never needed help from the insurance company as such, because Morgan Clark stepped in earlier than the insurers did. When Daniel turned up from Morgan Clark on the Saturday morning, looked around the house, and the first thing he did was to sit us down and say how Morgan Clark would go about helping. And it was so clear and it made so much sense. And we already realised that we were in no position to be able to deal effectively with the insurance company off our own back, because we simply had no experience. We could see exactly where we needed the help, and it seemed to us that that was what Morgan Clark was going to provide at every stage. And quite honestly, we signed up, neither of us had second thoughts, did we? We just agreed. It made total sense.
It's probably the most relevant and important decision we made throughout our trauma. It was the best thing we did.
Yeah, without a doubt.
When Daniel suggested we sign on the line, he explained very carefully that there would be no cost to us. They appointed the builders who they thought would be appropriate, who had done work on listed buildings and old houses. Morgan Clark were there for every meeting, as were the builders, as were the contractors, as were the engineers. It was a job fantastically well managed.
They did all the project management, and it's something that we absolutely would not have been able to do. We were both working, and I work away in London. It would have been a nightmare to have organised all that ourselves, and we just didn't have to. I think if we hadn't used Morgan Clark, we would be in a very different place now, because it wasn't just the whole project of the rebuild and refurbishing. They sorted out our contents claim, which actually is incredibly complicated. But Morgan Clark were very careful to guide the process of the contents claim, which made it a lot easier to get what we hoped.
We had to have a new stairway had to be completely rebuilt. Understair cupboard was rebuilt. All the beams had to be cleaned. The walls were scrubbed and painted and painted and painted. The windows were scrubbed and repainted. The whole house was seriously gone over. It was just unbelievable. You just wouldn't imagine where you had to start. But again, Morgan Clark got the right builders to guide us and lead us, and just to take the whole matter in hand.
And quite honestly, if it hadn't been for Morgan Clark doing it on our behalf, I have no idea how we would have managed. And I think a loss assessor is absolutely essential with any sort of large claim. And we have no experience of any other loss assessor except for Morgan Clark, but we wouldn't need one. They were absolutely amazing.